Today I'm going to expose one of the biggest scams in beekeeping, right? So don't go anywhere, and I'm also going to tell you how you can avoid it, okay? This is called bearding, so they'll normally get on the outside of the hive when they're a little warm. A lot of you guys watch people on the YouTube here, or maybe you're following somebody in your local area trying to teach you about beekeeping, and we fell into this trap as well. So a lot of you guys are going to start off beekeeping and you're going to go talking to somebody about it, and they're going to suggest that you guys buy some bees and you'll put your name on a list and you'll pay them $150, $200, $250, whatever it is, and that when the bees come in that you'll come and pick up your nook of bees, okay? And I did that for several years, and what I found out was they never did good over the winter. Okay, and then I started thinking to myself, man, they're awful dependent on the sugar water. Have you had beekeepers try to tell you to drench your bees when you first get them with the sugar water, put it on there, make sure they have it all the time? I have not used sugar water with bees in, well, years, okay, because I found the natural way of keeping bees, and I found out that the way we're being taught, most folks, you know, when they're trying to search out information, they're being taught almost the big pharma way. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to try to break that cycle. I want you to share it with your friends, maybe somebody that wants to get into beekeeping or whatever, and I'm going to explain to you right now what it is. And the biggest scam going in the homestead community and among beekeepers is buying bees. And man, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I finally figured it out. Why would you buy bees that are being trucked in from places far away from where you're living? It just makes so much sense, and now that I'm a homesteader, it even made more sense. But why would I truck in bees from a place that it doesn't even have the same climate or anything that I have? A lot of us are buying the bees from the retail guys, feeding them with the sugar water, yuck, and then they're dying over winter on us, okay? And I went through that cycle for quite a few years, and the only person that really benefited from it was, you know, the person selling the bees. So in this video, like I said, we're gonna break the cycle. I'm gonna show you guys how to get your own local bees for basically free, okay? And you can get this stuff right in the mail, or you can make it yourself. All right, enjoy the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys in a second.
Setting up your swarm trap is really straightforward. It's 1, 2, 3, and from the moment you get the box to setting it on the tree is probably 30 minutes, and you're all done and waiting for your swarm of honeybees to arrive. So the first thing is you need to tension this wire. It's like rebar in concrete. It will hold everything together once bees build their honeycomb here. And these wires help support what's called wax foundation. These are sheets of wax that the bees will be drawing their honeycomb from. So you just take pliers and you sit, take the frame, you make sure that one end of the wire is wrapped 1, 2, 3, 4 times around one of these nails sticking out, and then you take your pliers and you just squeeze everything in to anchor it. So this wire is no longer going anywhere. Now we need to pull on the other end of the wire to tighten the whole thing. So you grab, with your pliers, you grab the wire like this. Not like that, because if you grab like this, when you pull up, you can break the wire over here because all the pressure goes here. So instead, just clamp it in the jaws of the pliers and pull up. And when you tighten it, you also help with your left hand to drive the slack out of this wire from here to here to here to here and out. So 1, 2, 3, and then up. 1, 2, 3, 4, up. And you repeat it just a few times and see how much wire we get out. That's it. That's enough. It will sound a little bit like a guitar when you're done, but it doesn't have to be high pitch or anything. Okay, now pulling up at the wire. You put it around this nail and you do like 3-4 revolutions. 1, 2, 3. And then you use the pliers to sink that nail into the wood. And this frame is ready. I will clip off this wire. You don't have to do it, but I will use this piece of wire later. You will see what for. So this frame is ready, and you repeat it 6 times. Takes about 6 minutes, and then all of the frames in the swarm trap will be tensioned like that. 6 frames like that with the wire tensioned. Now let's put beeswax in there. Now the wires are in the straight line, but this is not how the bees build their comb. If you were to put no wax here for them to get started, they will put comb in any direction as they would do in a tree hollow. So these wires are for supporting your wax and then eventually the honeycomb that will be built inside the frame. So you put your frame down with the rear end raised a little bit, and you take one of the sheets of wax that comes here. It smells wonderful. And you put it on top of the wires. My favorite way of embedding wires in the wax is using electricity in the form of an old laptop adapter. So they are different wattages. So the ones that will work well for this application is the ones with the wattage of around 120 or 130 watts direct current. So this one is 19.5 volts times 6.7 amperes. So it will be around 120, around 130 watts. So as long as that's what it says there, that's good to go. So if you have an old one like that, you clip off the end and there will be 2 or 3 wires there, black, white and green. Disregard the green or yellow because it's ground. You just need the white and the black. And it's safe because this is very weak direct current. It's not going to hurt you even if you were to touch these wires. So you plug it in and they are ready to roll. It takes only a few seconds per frame and it's very clean and not damaging to the wax at all. You put one end on one end of the wire where the nail is and the other one on the other. And you do not count to like 10 or 5 or whatever. You look at what's happening with the wax. If you leave too long, it will cut completely through like cheese wire through cheese. But when you see it like stitches, wires appearing on your side of the wax, you are done. You release one end of the wire and this frame is ready. So it takes about 10 to 15 seconds. And it's very, very good attachment because literally wire is soldered in there inside this wax. It's not going to fall off when you handle your swarm trap and carry it to put it up in the tree. 6 frames like that. It smells wonderful, and imagine how it will all look covered with bees. Before we put the frames back into the swarm trap, we need to give it a smell that's attractive to swarms. And there are 2 things here. In your kit set there is some propolis. This is the resin bees collect from the trees and it's very aromatic. It really smells like the beehive. So we need to spread some of that inside the swarm trap. So here we go. You can use a little drywall knife for that, but I usually use my what's called hive tool. So I put some propolis here over it and I just put it over the flame of the candle. I have a drywall knife. It will be even quicker because it's not as thick as the hive tool, so it will heat up propolis quicker. See how it starts melting? That's what you want. And it also smells wonderful. All you do with the bees smells wonderful. Okay, when it's like that, you are ready to spread it inside the swarm trap. On the walls, the bottom, but especially around the entrance, so that the bees entering the swarm trap get that smell immediately. Alright, ready to go. While it's still hot, spread it inside the swarm trap. Done. Everything we are doing is written up step by step in the instructions that you receive with your swarm trap. There is also a free PDF of these instructions on horizontalhive.com that you can use for setting up your own swarm traps too. The only other thing left to do before setting up on the tree is putting lemongrass essential oil in slow release tubes. So lemongrass oil has the same or almost the same scent as the bees' own attractant pheromones, and the slow release tubes hold the smell inside the swarm trap for up to a year instead of the oil evaporating and the scent not being there anymore. So there is a little bottle of lemongrass essential oil, a little eyedropper, and you need to fill 2 tubes halfway up. The reason for halfway up is that the airspace above the oil will enable it to start evaporating, and this is how it's leaving in its vapor state. The lemongrass will be going through the walls of the special plastic, it's called slow release tubes, so that the concentration of the smell will be ideal for being attractive to the bees, which have a very sensitive smell, a sense of smell, and it will also last a very long time. These tubes are usable, so if you use the swarm trap next year, just add some more fresh oil and you are in the running. I have 2 slow release tubes filled with lemongrass oil. We do close the top tightly. There are no pinholes or anything in the tubes. Again, the whole point is that they are made out of special kind of plastic that will allow the smell of lemongrass to go through the walls of the plastic very slowly at the rate attractive to the bees. Now we need to attach them to any frame somewhere in this spot, low on the frame, and what I do is just I take a piece of wire that I saved for clipping off the end of the wire when we were tensioning it. I've wrapped this wire around the 2 vials that you filled. And it becomes kind of a little hook like this. And do close if it pops out. And then I push it through the wax in the lower part of one of the frames like that. And pull it from the other side. And done. These 2 vials will stay there. This frame should be number 3 or 4. With the vials being on the entrance side of the swarm trap. Alright, check which is the entrance side. The entrance is down there. So when I put this frame, I put it in the middle. The point is that the vials are closer to the entrance. When the bees they discover the swarm trap, enter the trap, they will get that smell of lemongrass immediately, which is again their own attractant pheromone smell. Now fill the rest of the frames. And we are almost done. Almost, because you need to immobilize the frames before hanging it on the tree. If you were to leave the frames like that and you carry it around and the bees arrive, then it will be like that, them rattling, and we don't want that because it will be crushing the bees and riling them up. So your swarm trap includes a slat and a wedge. You put a slat on one side of the frames before frame number 1, and you push this wedge on the other end of the frames here. Like that. You are done. This is intentionally here. There is this gap for ventilation. When the bees inside the swarm trap, they generate quite a bit of heat, so this hot air will be able to rise in through this gap, and there are ventilation holes in the lid, so the swarm trap will never overheat after the bees arrive. You close it, There are two heavy-duty hooks to close it so squirrels don't get in, wind will not open it, or even if you have bears, they will have no way of getting into the trap after the bees are inside. When bees swarm in nature, swarms are flying around there and then they send out scouts to find a new place for the swarm to move into. So if you put your swarm trap up in the tree, then to bees it will appear to be part of the tree and as a cavity that they're looking for. That's why swarm traps should be put up off the ground. There was research done showing that if you put them up at least 10 feet off the ground, the rate of catching swarms will be significantly higher than if you were to put them on the cinder block on the ground. You don't have to go farther than 10 feet up. Research showed that if you put it 50 feet up, it won't make any more difference compared to 10 feet. But I've seen bees, the scout bees that arrive at the swarm trap, actually measure the distance from the entrance of the swarm trap down. They go in circles and in spirals down to the ground and back up. For bees, it's very important to be up off the ground as protection from predators. This explains why swarm traps that are 10 feet off the ground catch many more swarms than the ones that are closer to the surface. It's very simple. It's included in your swarm trap kit. The first thing to do is to drive a nail or a provided screw with a T25 star drive head where you will be hanging the swarm trap. Let me explain this. The ratchet strap will secure the trap and attach it to the trunk of the tree, but it's very inconvenient to be putting the ratchet strap around the swarm trap if it's not supported by something. So what we do first, we use this nail to hold the swarm trap there. We'll hang it as a painting, you'll see in a minute, and then once it's secure there and we have both hands free, we can put the ratchet strap there to steady it up. Up I go, and big trees like that are my favorite. Here we are up in the tree. It's one of the pleasures of doing natural beekeeping and catching your own swarms. Even as an adult, now you have an excuse to climb up in the trees, something you may have enjoyed as a child. So you visualize where the swarm trap will be hanging, and you'll drive this screw up there at a small angle. Let it stick out by about ½ inch. We'll put the ratchet strap around the swarm trap later after it's hanging on this nail, but it's very convenient to put the ratchet strap around the tree first, so we don't try to put it around the tree with the swarm trap already in our way. The tree doesn't really have to be as big as this one, but if it is, you just swing it and you toss it around the tree and reach to get it on that side. Please be safe when doing that. I am cheating here a little bit because that tree has an old deer stand that I can use for going around with the strap. Alright, here I have both ends of the ratchet strap here, and I just let them hang. We are ready to set up the swarm trap here. The swarm trap kit includes a piece of wire that you put around the trap, and this wire will support it on that screw that we put into the tree. It has a loop, so you put this loop in the middle of the side of the long side of the trap that will be facing the tree, like this, under the lip. You run the wire under that lip and you twist it a few times on the other side. All right. Make sure your ladder is sturdy. If in doubt, secure the top of the ladder to the tree with another ratchet strap if necessary. Okay, so we do it like hanging a painting. So the screw we'll go through that loop. See, that's why I said it's so convenient to do that before trying to attach it with the ratchet strap and holding it at the same time. It's here. Before we attach the ratchet strap, I carry a small level with me. Ideally, you want to make sure that it's plumb, especially if you put less than a full sheet of wax in each of the frames. This one has full sheets of wax, it doesn't matter, but if it only had a strip, bees would be continuing to drop down according to gravity. So if you have anything less than a full sheet of wax in the frames, then you need to make sure that the swarm trap is plumb. And also you need to make sure that it's leaning a little bit forward so that it sheds water instead of water running into the entrance when it rains. So I check that. Even visually I see it's out of plumb, and I will just put a piece of branch that I'll get from the ground here between the trunk of the tree and the swarm trap to level it out. For the swarm trap being plumb, and before inserting that piece of board or a branch, this way I can just tighten it up when we are ready. So, all right, so let's see whether this will make it. I think it will get us very close. Almost there, like within a 1/4 inch here, so that's good. Maybe a little bit less. And again, make sure it's leaning forward a little bit. I will check for that too. Like this. And now I just... The very last thing you do before going down is opening this entrance. And we have this swarm trap ready to accept your free swarm of local bees. Frames with wax foundation in there, immobilized with a slat and with a wedge and with the wax in them. 2 vials of swarm trap attractant, lemongrass lure in slow release tubes, some propolis, and on a nice tree, leaning a little bit forward and securely attached to the tree with a piece of wire and the ratchet strap. Done. You don't have to check it every day because bees can stay here for about 3 weeks before running out of room. But so if it's not close to your home, at least check it every 1 or 2 weeks and you'll be fine. Realize that once the bees arrive, the box will be getting heavier and heavier day by day. So you don't have to delay too much taking it down once the bees are in there, but it's not like you need to be watching it 24/7. Here we go, and good luck with your swarm catching. The right time of setting it up on the tree is about 4 to 6 weeks when flowers start blooming in your location. That would be the flying of the first swarms. For example, I'm in southern Missouri, and we have a lot of flowers in bloom in mid-March. So I put my boxes up in mid-April, which is now.
So that's the hive Dr. Leon and I placed during this video. And doesn't it just make sense to collect local bees that are acclimated to your weather conditions already? They're going to be hardier, healthier. We don't use any of the bromite, sprays or dust. We don't put any chemicals in our beehives. Whereas before we had that big farmer mentality way, and we were feeding them sugar water. You'd have to treat them with the dust. It was just not sustainable, okay? So this is a much better way. So if you know anybody that wants to keep bees, this would be their first step. It's happening now. All of his plans are for free. Like, you could go to horizontalhive.com and you could download the plans for free and make one of those swarm catchers right out of your scraps maybe you have at your house, or you could order one and have it sent right to you. I will say too, before you get out of here, that if you guys collect a swarm, say in that box, you're going to have to put your beehive right underneath that tree, or you're going to have to pack that thing up, close up the entrance, make sure the ratchet strap's on there, and you're going to have to take it away 3 to 5 miles and let it set over there for like 2 days, 3 days, One time I think I left one for 4 or 5. And then you go back, you pick it up, and then you can bring it back and you can put it anywhere on your homestead that you want. But if you move it, like let's say you catch the bees right there and you go, I'm taking them over here, what'll happen is they'll keep returning to there because they're already locked on that location, and you'll lose them out of that box. They'll be gone. They'll go find another place out in the wild. Okay, so that's your hot tip right there. Hopefully this is going to save you a lot of headache and a lot of money. I know it will because I've already experienced it. And if you know somebody who's thinking about keeping bees, maybe you could share this with them as well, so we can start educating them up front on how to acquire their first bunch of bees. And then after we acquire these bees and the bees we have over here, we can split those over and over and over, and we can have beehives all over the place. Okay, so there's that too. All right, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure you share it with your friends. Hit me a thumbs up on the way out because we're trying to teach you something around here. It's not just mindless entertainment. It's great for the kids. A little homeschool video for you guys. All right, and we'll see you on the next one where we're going to open up the hive over there with Dr. Leo, and we're going to show you guys a spring inspection. Okay, and stay vigilant out there.